Is your city well coordinated with your regional and national governments?
Are your city departments well connected among themselves?
Are civil society, private sector, academia or NGOs involved in your city's decision-making processes for climate action?
Are politicians and high-level decision-makers supportive of climate action in your city?
These are some of the questions that this subsection will address. What is climate governance and why is it so important for climate action planning?
Climate governance is a multi-level decision-making process that includes both formal and informal interactions between different levels of government and various kinds of stakeholders.
In other words, climate governance is about the alignment and coordination of priorities, plans and actions among different stakeholders. For instance, the construction of a city's master plan should engage with several sectors such as transport, energy, waste or civil defense, as well as with local communities, companies, national government and international bodies.
Without a proper governance system, cities will find it hard to deliver on climate action. For this subsection, we have invited Andrea Fernandez, Managing Director at C40 Cities, to talk to us about why establishing climate governance is critical for delivering climate action.
Hi Andrea, welcome and thank you for joining us for this online course. In this subsection, we'll be talking about climate governance. What does this concept mean and why is it important in the context of delivering and accelerating climate action?
Climate governance is about the systems, the processes, and the engagement needed to really effectively drive, deliver, and report on climate action. It's about ensuring that cities are mainstreaming climate action, so it doesn't live just within that climate team, but that every department within an administration knows its role and its responsibility in delivering on a city's vision for climate action. It's about ensuring there's strong coordination across the city, and that's within the city, within the different departments, but also with stakeholders beyond, with the community, with business, with national government. And really, you know, it's about ensuring that that capability, those mechanisms to deliver are there. So Climate Action Plan will give that city the really strong vision, that clarity on the actions and the targets, but then you need those mechanisms to really drive that implementation.
So one of the main objectives of this course is to show the importance of integration in climate action planning and implementation. Why is vertical integration, the alignment between cities and their regional and/or national governments, so important in tackling climate change?
Well, cities can't do it alone. Cities are setting bold vision and targets, and they've got climate action plans covering their whole city, but really they depend on others to be able to deliver, whether it's national government or, for example, private sector. So with national government, there's a few key sectors where national government plays an important role. Energy supplies is one key one, and really for a city to be able to reach net zero, it needs that careful coordination with national government to ensure that energy supply is also decarbonizing at the pace needed. It's also really important for cities to be able to have those conversations around funding. So many cities depend on national government transfers. They depend on national government funding for major investments in for example, transport infrastructure, and being able to align climate action, policies, goals, targets, and the discussion around funding is really essential for cities to deliver.
Thank you for touching on vertical integration. And now I'd like to move on to horizontal integration, which is the alignment along the same levels of government. Why is horizontal integration within a city important in order to advance on the climate agenda?
Well, a lot of different departments need to come together to develop a climate action plan, and they need to work cohesively to deliver that. And many departments still work in a very siloed way. So it's really important that a climate governance system looks at how to create that cross-departmental coordination to enable climate action to be delivered efficiently and effectively. An example of this is looking at the issue of climate risk. If a city is going to tackle climate adaptation and address climate risk, it needs to look at what is it doing across its urban planning, its transport mobility systems, its energy, buildings. It needs to have the chief finance officers also engaged, the infrastructure planning departments engaged. So really, you can't deliver on climate action without this coordinated cross-departmental approach.
So who should be involved in an ideal climate governance system? How would it work? And could you give us an example that you're familiar with?
So every city is unique, and how it sets up its own climate governance will vary city by city. I think a key ingredient is leadership by the mayor and ensuring that the mayor's the office of the mayor is very engaged and really driving things, because it does need that senior political leadership. The climate team is also incredibly important, but then you need this cross-departmental coordination to really drive on climate action. Where I think we've seen really unique examples is how cities have engaged other stakeholders that are important. So for example, City of Durban is setting up a City Business Climate Alliance so that it can engage private sector in delivering on its climate actions. City of Lima did a lot of engagement with children and with youth in order to inform its climate action plan. City of Salvador engaged academics in helping to almost like create a mini IPCC to inform its climate action plan. So these are really great examples of how cities have engaged external stakeholders and really improving creating that consensus and that bold vision and ambition for its climate action.
And how can climate governance create a conducive environment to the financing and implementation of integrated climate actions?
Well, this is where it's really important to engage chief finance officers, the CFOs across cities, because they need to really be able to be on top of all the major climate projects that are going to come across their desk, plus also review any infrastructure projects and ensure that the planning of those projects is considering climate risk and is considering the climate objectives of the city. One of the main tools that we have been working with cities on to do this effectively is called climate budgeting, which is it's really a governance approach to ensure that responsibility for climate action is really delegated across the city administration, that every department knows its role and responsibility, that they have their target for how they need to reduce their emissions. And it gives a really important role to the CFO, where anything that, again, comes across the CFO's desk has to have consideration for how it's helping the city to achieve its climate targets. So the climate budgeting is a really effective way for a city in terms of managing the climate actions for which it will put resources to. It's really important for cities to look at what are the different finance pathways, what are the things that it needs to deliver through its own budget, what are the things that it will need to turn to a development bank or private finance institution or infrastructure fund in order to deliver. And having that clarity, which the climate budget will help a city to do, is really critical so that a city can ensure that all the key priority actions have a pathway to implementation.
Thank you, Andrea, for your participation and for sharing your insights. It was lovely to have you with us.
Thank you.
We have heard from Andrea about the importance of climate governance. Now you'll see several examples of cities, such as Qingdao, Rio de Janeiro, or Chuane, that have put their own climate governance systems in place.
As you read and listen to these experiences, try to assess your city's current governance capacity. Is climate action a priority for your city? Is the mayor committed to it? Are there leading actors that push the climate agenda? Are there proper enabling conditions to help the implementation of climate actions in your city?
At the end of this section, there will be an exercise that will provide a snapshot of your city's climate governance system. We hope you are inspired by the examples from other cities to build or improve your own climate governance system.